Hi, I'm Vadd, and this April brought me a mix of wins, misses, and a few surprises. Some of it you might have caught in some of the videos I posted, but other parts never really made it onto the channels. Time has passed and I've had a little more time to reflect and think about kind of what I've invested in and what's stuck with me. The biggest surprise for me this month was Deadlock. Deadlock is a multiplayer game in early development. It has a lot of popular tags that I tend to like, things like MOBAs, things like third-person shooters, team-based. I'm not always a big multiplayer guy. It has a lot of interesting things going for it from an art perspective and from a character perspective. But we still have to remember this game is in early development. Deadlock has a lot of what's called temporary art and experimental gameplay. So what I've interacted with now is not necessarily the final product. And traditionally, I'm not a huge of games that fit this mold. There are definitely elements that we see in other popular titles such as Overwatch, Marvel Rivals, Valorant, Apex Legends. There's all kinds of things that you could kind of see some similarities between that. If you like those games, you might like this, but we're not there yet. The game is genuinely in early development. There are no reviews, no release dates. It is all temporary and experimental at this point. And it was fun to spend some time just checking out what heroes they have right now and how it feels to move around, how it feels to shoot, how it feels to use those abilities, as at some point it's going to come out into a full launch, and I'm looking forward to giving it a little bit more time when it's had more time baking. Not because it's a terrible experience right now, but it's just not done yet. But it's something I spent a little time in this month, and it was fun to do that. I don't think I'm planning to make any videos on it. I think maybe I'll stream it a few times, but we'll see what happens when the game is more complete. Right now, you can get in, you can play matches, you can try out the heroes, but it's not feature complete. It is genuinely in early development, not mid development, not late development, not testing. It's early development time. So I'm not comfortable being too critical or deciding which way the wind's blowing too early here, as we just don't know. But the time I had was enough to remind me to keep an eye on it as it continues its development, just to see how things progress, and maybe it's one that I will fall in love with. Right now, it's not really my thing, but it's not done, so it doesn't really matter. But it was fun to pick up and play and just to remember that it is in work. This April did have me finish up a little more of Crimson Desert, just clearing out more of the odds and ends stuff, just little things that have no real bearing on anything meaningful. Just like, hey, there's like some guy who needs me to pick up 3 buckets and fill his well with water, you know, like nothing quests, just things that you really don't need to do. There's no real meaningful reward. There's not a story beat, just me literally just check marking a box because I wanted to spend more time in the world. And that was kind of fun to be a little more in Crimson Desert, even if I've really kind of done all the main things there are to do. It's continuing to get good updates, which has continued to improve the experience, which I am absolutely here for. As facts are, the state it launched in is not the state it's in right now, and that is for the best. I also spent a little time this month in a game called Minos, which is, man, I want to call it a tower defender game, a tower defense game. But when I say something like that, it comes across to me, when I hear that, I'm like, oh, it's kind of a chill game. But Minos is a little bit more of an action strategy puzzle game than it is a tower defense strategy tactics game. And what do I mean by that? Well, you actually play as 2 separate characters. One of your characters is the Minotaur, and the other is the builder. I forget his name, Daedalus or something. And in between rounds, Daedalus kind of builds the labyrinth to protect the Minotaur from the heroes that are coming in. Visually, I find this game appealing. I like this art style. At the same time, for me, it's kind of messy, where it's kind of like a little bit of work to figure out what's going on. And I'm the one who's like building the traps and should know what's going on. But man, I find it just a little messy, but I like the art style. I'm super conflicted on it. I think it looks good, but it's just, to me, it comes across as messy. And the fact that when the round is going, we can move our Minotaur around, right? So you can actively go out and fight with the Minotaur. You need to let the traps do the work. You know, there are reasons to do that and reasons to not do that, as there is some strategy here. So again, it's technically a tower defense game, but I don't think that's the best fit, you know, description of it. Is it maybe feels more like I'm building a maze, as we are the Minotaur in the labyrinth. There's a little bit of a narrative going on. I haven't quite finished yet. I don't really care too much about the narrative. I like it, but I don't know if like I'm invested in it. I'm much more invested in like not getting killed and building my little labyrinth. After you clear a level, you'll get an opportunity to spend some resources into upgrade tree to level up your power and to kind of push further in. So there's some fun little mechanics here to kind of keep you pushing forward to meet new challenges. And I think this is a fun one to pick up. I think when I finish it, I think most likely I won't want to come back. Not because it's a bad game. I just feel like I've done what I'm going to do. And likely will just have a sense of satisfaction that I've survived, or I've completed, or I've journeyed to what I've journeyed through. I don't really know where the story's going. I don't know how difficult it's going to be. I'm still pretty in early days here with Minos, but I'm enjoying it so far. I think it's a fun little change of pace, as technically I think it is a tower defense game, but that's kind of selling it short, as it's a little more active, a little bit more of a, again, kind of a maze building, puzzling adventure for me. And we'll see where I end up on this kind of down the road. This month also had me spend a little time in the People of Sea, Sun, and Salt. If you check the reviews channel, I did put out a review on this. I was actually really enjoying this journey. It's unusual to have a city building game where you so consistently just tear your whole city apart, but the way this game works is kind of each level up, you unlock something new that fundamentally changes how you can build and how you should build. And so I was constantly just tearing things down and building them back. I think the art style is just pleasant. It almost has kind of a cozy game vibe with the water, the ocean, the weather, you know, the trees and the buildings kind of move in the breeze. I really enjoyed this one. It was a very relaxing city building experience, if a little bit of a spin that you were constantly, at least I was constantly knocking down my buildings to rebuild them. And at first it was a little off-putting, but over time I was like, I get it. I like it. I don't mind it. It's not bad. This is kind of fun. I think I like this. You know, it's kind of an interesting emotional journey. But the People of Sea, Sun, and Salt got a full review if you want to see a little more of a critical take on it. But story short, I liked it. I think it was fun. I think it had a lot of cool, good things going on, something a little different. It might not be my all-time most favorite, you know, building management game, but I think it's a good one to have in the toolbox to experience. April, of course, saw me spending a little more time in Mechabellum and Deep Rock Survivor. Just two kind of casual games. I'm not super invested in being the best there ever was or really pushing the progression in either of them. Just enjoying my time in them in between things happening, as well as this was the biggest surprise for me this month. I know I said the biggest surprise was Deadlock, but kind of the second biggest surprise was how much I enjoyed the Battle of Polytopia. If you've not heard of it, I'm not surprised. I don't think anyone's ever heard of this game. I'm probably one of 3 players, which is a joke. I'm sure it's actually very well received, as it's actually a really excellent strategy, turn-based strategy game. I was actually kind of floored by how excellent it is. Visually, I'm not liking this art style. I don't love this at all, but at the same time, it perfectly fits the scale and scope of the game, and there's something so important in a strategy game on clarity of interface, where you can look right at what you're looking at and know exactly what's in front of you. And the Battle of Polytopia, its art style absolutely accomplishes that. I know exactly where the water is, the mountains, the goats, whatever it might be. I've been very impressed with this little gem, and I'm kind of surprised that it's not more popular. I'm still kind of digging into it myself, trying to figure out, does it just fall off? Is it just like a honeymoon phase? The first, 50 to 100 games are just magic and then you hate it? Like, I don't know yet. I'm still on my journey through the Battle of Polytopia, but it really shocked me. It really shocked me just how high quality a lot of it was. And if you're following along with the channel members, then you know I'm still plugging my way through Mass Effect Legendary Edition. If you're unfamiliar with the Legendary Edition, it takes all 3 games from Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 and puts all of them into just one big game. Here's the facts. The story holds up really well over time, as these games are not new. These are old games, okay? The story holds up. The mechanics in the world, not so much. And the more time I've spent in Mass Effect Legendary Edition, the more I'm like, this is such a good story. And I don't think it needs a remake or a remaster. Let me be clear here. I don't think it needs any of that. I think it's just showing its age. And there's certain design decisions, there's certain mechanics, the way they feel, the way they function, that are not the way that games in the last 10, 15, 20 years tend to do things. And because of that, it feels like an old game. I don't think it needs a remake here. I don't think if someone just released a remastered edition and redid all the movement, it would feel great. That's just not how this goes. But I do think it's a really well-written narrative, and there are compelling characters that are doing a really fantastic job of having strong motivations and making believable choices. And man, I would love to see, and man, I'm probably alone in this, but I'll tell you what, I would love to see like a top class TV show or a movie or something in the Mass Effect universe. It is such a good setup for the world, such a good setup for the characters. It is just ripe to have something spun off from it. And the problem with that is that most spin-offs I think of late haven't been all that great, which makes me hesitant, but I'm so optimistic that like the right people could come together and make the magic happen here. As the facts are, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, I don't have a lot of minutes I regret in that game. Even if some of the systems are clunky or some of the experience is a little bit eye-rolling, or I'm like, man, why can I not sprint? Why is my dude out of breath, Mr. Super Soldier? Even if there's funny things like that that really rub me the wrong way, just create some unpleasant friction. I don't have a lot of minutes in that game that I've regretted. I think that's a really strong statement, as most games I find have some amount of regrettable minutes where you're like, it was a waste. I could have done better there. April also saw me put in a few more rounds of Helldivers. If you're following the live streams, you would have seen some of those. I had some friends that said, hey, we want to dive again. And I said, all right, I think the game is 1,000 times better with friends. And it was hard to say no to just sitting down with your friends and blowing things up. You got to remember, Helldivers is really a power fantasy. And we made the mistake of queuing into a mission where they take away all of your power, and the game has never felt worse. I was actually shocked that mission even existed. And after we finished it, I said, never again. I don't care what the mission is. We cannot do that again. And we didn't. And we had a lot more fun.